when all was said and done after the '88 strike, we didn't end up with a whole lot more than we had prior to the strike. But I think what it demonstrated for our members is that, you know, push us too far during the negotiations, and in between, respect our process, or else we will go out on strike. We don't need a great deal of provocation because you provide it during the interim between contract negotiations. You say it every time you disrespect us at work. You say it every time you ignore some important clause in our collective agreement that takes us through an arbitration process. I truly believe that if the employer would just sit down and not just bargain in good faith, because that's one issue, but I really feel that there is this whole issue of what they do during the term of the contract that says to nurses, we respect what we put on paper. We're not going to argue about words on paper. We're going to, you know, sit down and resolve this. We're not going to have to go off to arbitration. But look at how many issues go to arbitration, and it's not healthy for the members, and I can't see that it's in the employer's interest. But that's where it goes. So then the next time around, you've got a whole bunch of things on the table that don't really have a lot to do with bargaining. It's just that they're leftovers during the year. And that turkey story is very true, you know. The one lady, it's not even in the contract. You know, there's nothing in the contract about turkeys, but for her, that's what it was all about, you know, and if she had to exercise her frustration through voting for the strike, that's what she was prepared to do. There was another local I remember visiting, and I went out with Murray Billet to Provost, and their employer had always allowed them to brew a pot of coffee, and they would sit down, have their coffee while they were at the end of their shift, while they were charting off their day. And the employer did some number crunching and realized that if they sold that same coffee at 50 cents a cup, how much it would mean to his budget. So they started taking, it wasn't a he, it was a she actually, so they started taking away that privilege. Well, then the nurses brought their own coffee. Well, then the employer said they had to pay for the electricity to plug in the pot, and on it went. And we went out to a labor management meeting about coffee, you know. It's not in the contract, and there's nothing in there that would protect it, that sort of privilege, but it translates into frustration and anger when contracts roll around. And if the employers would only realize that nurses give 110% every day that they go into work, and they should be treated like they're liquid gold, because they're few and far between, and there's soon going to be very few nurses left in giving the kind of care that is being given, because people just aren't going to choose it as a profession. That's my fear anyway.